You know how people always say you should wait for motivation to strike, like it's some kind of magical lightning in a bottle? Well, what if that's just terrible advice? Today, we're going to tear that whole myth apart and show you why building a system of discipline is your real superpower for getting things done. Let's dive in. Oh, you know the feeling. Of course you do. You've got that big project staring you down. You're supposed to hit the gym, maybe you want to finally start that book, but you're just not feeling it. So you wait. You scroll on your phone, you make another coffee, you organize your desk for the 10th time, all hoping that this magical wave of motivation is just going to wash over you. But what if it never shows up? All right, here's the game plan. First, we're going to unpack what I call the motivation trap. Then we'll look at 8 super common reasons you might be feeling stuck. After that, we'll question this whole idea of chasing a feeling, dive into the actual science of peak performance, what it means to be in the zone, and finally, we'll land on the real secret weapon, discipline. Okay, let's kick things off with this big idea, the motivation trap. It's this belief we all seem to have that motivation has to come before you can take action. We've been conditioned to wait until we feel like doing the work. But here's a crazy thought. What if it's the other way around? What if taking action is what actually creates the feeling you've been waiting for? And honestly, this is the perfect way to think about it. We all see motivation as this incredible, powerful force that can help us move mountains. And yeah, when it's there, it's great. But just like lightning, you have absolutely zero control over when or where it's going to strike. Trying to build your life for your goals around it, well, it's just not a reliable strategy, is it? So if waiting for motivation is a trap, why do we get stuck in it so often? Well, it turns out it's not always just random. There are some really common, concrete reasons we lose our drive. Let's look at 8 of the biggest culprits identified by personal development expert Dean Bakari. Just take a quick look at this list. I bet some of these feel pretty familiar, right? Maybe you just don't have a clear picture of what you want, or maybe you're just completely overwhelmed by the size of the task. Sometimes we even make it a part of who we are, telling ourselves, oh, I'm just a procrastinator. But you know what all of these have in common? They all point back to the same fundamental mistake. We're looking for a feeling instead of building a system. Right, so understanding those reasons is a really good start. But now we're going to go a level deeper, and this is where it gets really interesting. What if the problem isn't just why we don't have motivation? What if the problem is that we're chasing it in the first place? This right here is the big turning point. For your whole lives, we've been told to get motivated or find your motivation. But maybe, just maybe, that's the wrong goal entirely. Maybe we've been trying to solve the wrong problem all along. To see why, let's look at the old way of thinking about this. You've probably seen this famous pyramid somewhere before, right? It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, one of the most well-known theories in psychology. The basic idea is that you have to satisfy your foundational needs first, things like food, shelter, and safety, before you can even think about higher-level goals like creativity or achieving your full potential. It's a nice, simple ladder. But here's the thing. Real life is almost never that neat and tidy. Maslow's theory is pretty rigid, like you have to complete level 1 before you can unlock level 2. But the reality is, we humans are way more complex than that. I mean, think about a student who's struggling to pay rent but is still completely driven to ace their exams and write a novel. We chase all kinds of needs at the same time. And the critiques of this old model don't stop there. For one, it's pretty culturally biased. It really prioritizes Western ideas of individual success over community goals. Plus, the original theory was based on a tiny, super subjective study of just 18 people. It just oversimplifies what actually makes us tick. The bottom line is, this old model we've been using, it's shaky at best. And this quote just nails our new direction. If motivation is that unreliable friend who shows up whenever they feel like it and then disappears without a word, discipline? Well, discipline is the one who's there for you every single day, rain or shine, ready to get to work. That's the mindset shift we're talking about. So, if we're not waiting for this lightning bolt of motivation, what are we trying to create instead? We're aiming for that state of peak performance, what athletes call the zone and psychologists call flow. And it turns out there's some really cool science behind what's actually happening inside your brain when you get there. It all starts with something called intrinsic motivation. All that means is the drive that comes from inside you. You're not doing something for an external reward like money or to avoid a punishment. You're doing it simply because the activity itself is fun, interesting, or satisfying. It's why you'll lose hours to a good puzzle or a creative hobby. And when you take intrinsic motivation to its absolute peak, you get what the legendary psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called flow. This is that magical state where you are so completely absorbed in what you're doing that you lose all track of time, your ego fades away, and the work just flows. It's one of the most amazing human experiences. So what's the secret sauce in our brains that makes this happen? Well, the star of the show is dopamine. And this is a huge but, we've all got the wrong idea about it. We think of it as the pleasure chemical, but neuroscientists now see it more as the seeking chemical. It's the neuroengine that drives us to explore, to learn, to pursue challenges. It's the molecule of wanting more. When you get into that flow state, your brain is doing this incredible three-part dance. First, a part of your brain called the salience network acts like a spotlight, shining on the task and telling everything else, pay attention to this. Then the CEO of your brain, your central executive network, kicks into high gear for intense focus and problem solving. And finally, this is the magic part. The default mode network, the part responsible for daydreaming and that nagging inner critic, it goes quiet. You just stop overthinking and you just do. Which brings us to our final and honestly, our most important section. We know that motivation is flaky, and we know that flow is the goal. So how do we get there on purpose? The answer isn't waiting to feel like it. It's about building systems so you don't have to. It's choosing discipline over desire. The foundation of all discipline is the habit. And every single habit you have, good or bad, runs on this dead simple three-step neurological loop. First, there's a cue, the trigger. Second, there's the routine, the action itself. And third, there's the reward, the little hit of satisfaction that tells your brain, hey, remember this loop? It was good. By consciously designing these loops, we can literally build discipline from the ground up. And you know, one of the simplest but most profoundly powerful cues you can create is just the act of writing things down. When you schedule your workout in a planner, it stops being a vague idea, I should go to the gym sometime, and becomes a concrete plan. At 7 a.m., this is what I'm doing. That simple act of writing it down is often the first real step. So how can you start today, like right now? Here are 3 quick tips. First, just focus on one thing. Don't try to reinvent your entire life by tomorrow morning. Pick one new habit. Second, always remember your why. Why are you doing this? Keeping that big picture goal in mind will pull you through the tough days. And finally, use those 3 R's we just talked about. Build a reminder, a routine, and a reward into your new habit. And that's really the heart of it all. It's time to stop waiting for the lightning of motivation to strike. It's time to become the kind of person who builds the systems that make success almost automatic, no matter how you're feeling on a given day. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. What is the one system you will start building tomorrow so you never have to wait for motivation again?